Welcome, residents, to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is producer Richard, and across from me is the Doctor himself.
Hello.
Each week, we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from listeners just like you.
That was nice.
That was tight.
I know, and gripping because I was waiting for
For the mess up? So
Yeah.
it's just like the hairs on your back of your head are like standing up.
It's on the edge of my seat. issue 116, and you still keep me guessing.
Oh, baby, this relationship's always going to be like that. That and edible underwear, it's what keeps this relationship, fresh.
Well, next time I won't just get hungry and eat it before we get to the good stuff.
That's what he said. I don't.
Just eat the edible underwear and be like, ooh, I'm full. Food coma, baby. Just fall asleep. Just eat the underwear and fall asleep.
Like, you could have at least waited for me to put it on.
The wrapping was still on it.
Yeah. Oh, I thought that was weird. Oh, we don't have a lot of news this week. We don't. There's very little.
Really?
There's one piece of news.
Okay, what was the one piece of news?
The Watchmen teaser is officially released.
Have you seen it?
I haven't.
I haven't either.
Oh,
Good. Let's
well.
do this.
Joy.
Yeah.
When they said teaser, they meant it.
I mean, there's not a lot in there.
I think filming wise, I like
A couple of interesting visuals. The different version of the American flag. That sort of looks like a desk toy, but of like an atom or whatever. Which I don't know if it's Manhattan or
I would assume,
or someone working on or inspired by the Manhattan sort of story.
I think
and one that I can only assume is related to like the Black Flag, like that like comic within the comic.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, there's text underneath these too. So the American flag had it's not 1985 anymore,
Right.
Under the little atom thing, it's reach out and touch Mars.
Right.
So
obviously Manhattan.
And the last thing is the pirate flag on a scythe, and it says "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here."
I mean, I'm interested. I think the most interesting thing is that because it's just we don't know where it's going to go. Because even the actual canonical quote unquote sequel to Watchmen is Doomsday Clock, and they're not doing that on the show. They're not going to bring them over to the DC universe and have them go up with Firestorm and Superman and shit like that. So like
that would be cool.
For this HBO show, it's just going to be its own thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, who knows where it'll go? We know that like Jeremy Irons is going to be old Ozymandias, which is neat. So there's going to be some, presumably of the characters that we know. Maybe we'll get to see like an older like Night Owl and Silk Spectre or something.
But this is essentially a story that has not been told yet, which I kind of prefer. I would rather either they like are like dead set on like doing exactly what was in the original material.
And Doomsday Clock went the route of Rorschach's journal got found, and then the whole lie is exposed, and all of Ozymandias' work is for nothing. Because the world sort of descends into chaos again because they realize that they've been duped.
Yes.
I don't know if that's precisely where this show goes or not, or if maybe the lie is preserved or something like that. Like I'm genuinely curious about what they're going to do with it. So
I like the idea that they're going to be forced to try to make some sense of Watchmen, because this is going to be for a wider audience.
Yeah.
But I also am like, that's not what Damon Lindelof typically does.
But it's smart of them not to just do the story, because that's when you're going to get everyone being like, that's not how it's done, or blah, 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 blah. Now they just get to be like, you can demonstrate your respect or knowledge of the thing in how you extend it.
And
right,
and I think service that you play through,
and I think that's smart too. I mean, not only has the story been told, but also you're freeing yourself up to do maybe new things, more interesting things.
Well, I mean, it puts you also in a position where as long as you're not doing things that counteract things that have happened, you're basically putting yourself in a position where anything that you reference and get correct is looked on favorably.
Yes. Yeah, as long as it's not like episode 2 and they're like, by the way, and then just do like some sort of weird retcon shit. Yeah.
It's Dr. Manhattan now.
Nice.
Yeah. And he's got a blue vagina.
I mean, that I can already hear the neckbeards screaming if you were to crosscast Dr. Manhattan.
It's actually he now is a trans woman. That would make all of the
Dr. Manhattan is literally just a being made of like assembled atoms. Dr. Manhattan can be whatever Dr. Manhattan wants to be.
Yeah, that's very true.
I can still hear the neckbeard screaming though.
Yeah,
every time I close my eyes.
Sounds like an emo song.
I can still hear the neckbeard screaming. That was actually the name of my emo band.
Oh, it's not long enough of a name, actually.
Oh, sorry. Every time I close my eyes was in like parentheses afterwards. So I can still hear the neckbeard screaming, parentheses, every time I close my eyes.
Colon, beneath the fires of Babylon.
I like it.
It's really more of a screamo band at that point. But.
Right.
All right. Sounds like there's a lot of chaos within this theme namings. We should bring some order to it, because this theme of this week is order and chaos.
Nice. Amazing.
It's almost like peanut butter, how smooth it is.
Yeah, the crunchy kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was one where like months ago, I think I was like, we'll do order and chaos next, and then something came up, or we had cool guests lined up or something, and stuff just got like bumped, and I completely forgot about it. So I was like, let's actually get around to it.
What are you, my dad?
What, just other cooler things came up, and so I forgot about the thing I had promised?
Yeah.
Goal.
Catch in the crib.
But yeah, we're talking about order and chaos.
What does that mean?
So there are lords of order and chaos. There's sort of two sides of basically magic in the DC universe. There are some that, on the side of obviously the chaotic or entropy or things like that. And there are some that try to maintain order and rules and things like that. But basically both of them, there's a balance between them, and they sort of, between them and their struggle, end up kind of constructing the rules or the laws of magic, basically. But you could sort of divide magic in DC down the center. Not everyone is aware of the various lords. Not everyone has picked a side or anything like that. But there are some characters with very specific ties to those concepts. So I thought we'd get into it.
I'm very interested. Let's head into the questions then.
All right.
Going on to Facebook.
Going to the face and the book. Going to the Facebook.
Because Dan didn't start the fire. Because he's Dan Dunn.
I mean, I do kind of like it.
Yeah. Dan Dunn asks, can you break down some of the retcons that came about after the introduction of the Lords of Order and Chaos? Particularly Amethyst, Hawk and Dove, and Phantom Stranger.
Right. So the Lords of Order and Chaos weren't always like around.
Are you telling me that there's a change in DC that affected Hawk and Dove? I shan't believe it.
I feel like the first Lord of Order ever to be introduced was Naboo.
Yeah, that cool planet from Star Wars.
Oh, come on. Every other time on this podcast I've said that, you go, oh, Naboo.
I don't like when there's expectations.
Right. Well, you're on the right show.
I'm all about. I mean, you could say this podcast is really split down the middle between order and chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Naboo. Like Naboo the Wizard, who inhabits the Helmet of Fate. No helmet of fate, no deal. No deal. No host, no deal. I think he's probably the first one ever introduced, and even that was a retcon. He was introduced, and they were like, "Yeah, it's this guy, and he's actually been in the helmet for issues." And I think even that was a retcon. But yeah, I mean, as that idea of like Lords of Order or Lords of Chaos sort of expanded through the Silver Age and things like that, it did affect the stories of other characters. So Let's start with Hawk and Dove, for example. So for a bit, it was just that they were the avatars of war and peace, respectively. But the retcon ended up being that they get their powers from magic. Now, they aren't like magic wielders. They don't like shoot energy beams or things like that. But their sort of strength, their danger sense, their agility, their healing, all of those things that they get when they say Hawk and Dove and turn into their heroic selves, that is channeled from magic. And the retcon was that a Lord of Order and a Lord of Chaos, Teratea and T'Char, fell in love with each other, and they decided to make this experiment to see if Order and Chaos could actually work together. And so Hawk is powered by the Lord of Chaos, and Dove is powered by the Lord of Order. And it's this sort of grand cosmic experiment, basically, to see if you can actually make like a harmonious team, find the balance between the two. So that was that, and that's basically stuck. That's their sort of thing now. So that's how it affected Hawk and Dove. Amethyst. She's the princess of Gemworld, which is a magical realm where like all of the great houses, if you're in Game of Thrones mode right now because the final season is on, there's actually a lot of crossover with something like Gemworld. So instead of having great houses like Lannisters, Targaryens, Starks, whatever, you'd have like amethyst, turquoise, emeralds, like that's basically dark opal, all of those kind of things.
Yeah.
Now their connection
sounds like Steven Universe.
Actually, yeah, there's probably some connections there too. Yeah. So there's a character who was a very major like Justice League and Legion of Superheroes villain through the Silver Age and things like that. His name was Mordru. He was like a very powerful wizard. He's a Lord of Chaos, but there's a sort of retcon, a sort of story where he's sort of made into a Lord of Chaos he's like a child of like the Dark House in Gemworld or something like that. I think his name is like Rin or something. And he becomes this sort of dark Lord of Chaos. And actually some of the other houses of Gemworld like align themselves with the Lords of Order. And actually like House Amethyst, like Princess Amethyst's Princess Amaya's father is like a Lord of Order.
Oh, okay.
And she becomes a Lord of Order for a bit after. Lord of Order. So like they basically took Mordru and made him, like, his origin was then in Gemworld, and then when he leaves Gemworld, he fights the Justice League, ends up in the 30th century. He's like a very big Legion of Superheroes villain, but he's a Lord of Chaos. Or I think in the current Justice League Dark Run, he's referred to as like the Lord of Chaos. Like,
oh wow!
Not maybe the only one, but the first or the most powerful or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of the rough connection with Amethyst.
Yeah.
There. What was the third one?
Oh, Phantom Stranger.
Oh, okay. So, so the thing with Phantom Stranger is that Phantom Stranger is sort of he's connected to like celestial power, like the power of God, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But because of that, he has a lot of sort of magical power. And like I said, the Lords of Order and Chaos are sort of tied to like the fabric of magic. And in Day of Vengeance, like Infinite Crisis, when the Spectre goes rogue and tries to destroy magic, what you learn partway through that series is you can't destroy magic, you can just change its form. So what the Spectre is actually doing when it thinks that it's destroying magic is it's actually tearing down all of the rules that make magic work a particular way.
Oh.
And he kills the various Lords of Order and Chaos and basically ushers in the 10th age of magic, because when they destroy all of those old basically protectors of like just the rules of magic,
mm-hmm.
then there's no more rules. Magic becomes wild again.
Wild and crazy magic.
Like sending a zoo animal back to the jungle. That's a bad...
What?
It's a bad analogy. I mean, I've never done that. So I mean, Phantom Stranger is kind of connected. He's sort of tangentially connected to the Lords of Order and Chaos that way. You could also make the argument that, you know, like the wizard Shazam is a Lord of Order. And in the new
Billy Batson.
Precisely. That's pretty good.
It's the second time you said that.
I'm proud of you.
Daddy.
No. In the New 52, there's a whole thing with the Phantom Stranger basically being judged in front of the Council of Eternity, of which the Wizard Shazam is a member. Now, they don't go explicitly and say, like, everyone around here is a Lord of Order, but, you know, if he is, and he's a wizard, and, you know, like, there might be some connection there. So it's possible that in that case that it's, like, Lords of Order that actually, like, bestow his punishment upon him and make him the Phantom Stranger. I think that argument could be made in the post-Flashpoint sort of continuity. Obviously now with Rebirth and things kind of all blending together, who knows? We don't see a lot of the Phantom Stranger, so who knows like what his deal is right now. But I think that's a reasonable assumption to make, at least near the beginning of the New 52, that that's probably what happened there.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. Next question comes from Stephen Marion Almagro.
Wow, that's a good name.
Yeah. SMA.
Yeah. Marion! Indiana Jones.
Oh. Dr. Jones.
Marion!
I watched the first episode of the second episode of The Walking Dead the other day from the first season.
Okay, yeah.
Just because Jessica wanted to watch it. And
what a different show in that first season.
Holy shit. First of all, because like I got up to like the fourth season, I think.
I got to 5 or 6. I think,
yeah. And it's hilarious the way that they dress everybody in the first, because one, they're trying to like copy the comics and stuff like that. But like the way that they make what's his name look like Short Round in the first, just like it's brutal. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess that's how he was drawn in the comics. But yeah, it was not okay.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Glenn.
Yeah, that's Glenn.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, they dress him like fucking Short Round. Like you got the little baseball T-shirt with like a little baseball cap on, and like
I hadn't thought of that. That's very funny.
Yeah, it's not okay.
No, it's not.
You're canceled, Walking Dead. So still one of the most popular shows on TV somehow.
Is it?
Yeah, it still is.
Oh, I thought it was like losing viewership.
I think it is, but I think it's still wildly popular.
Sure. Fair enough.
It's not Game of Thrones with 17 million people watching the last episode.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
That's more people than were watching it in general. There's people like... It must just be people being like, oh, I'll see how it ends.
That's almost as many people that watched this. I mean, that have listened to this podcast.
It's close.
Close. Just shy.
You know what? Keep reaching for the stars, Game of Thrones. Yeah, you'll get there.
Yeah.
Take it from us. You'll get there one day.
You'll be at the Dr. DC of TV.
Nominated, but did not win a Daytime Emmy.
That's right. Talking about Dr. DC? Yeah. Obviously.
Yeah.
Stephen
asked... It was a clerical error. They meant ER, but they just...
Actually, the guy said it wrong on stage.
It's supposed to be General Hospital, and they just wrote Dr. DC. And...
Damn you, Sonny. Actually, it was actually Jax. Come on. Stephen asks, essential stories about Kid Eternity? Why did he defend the Lords of Order? The Lords of Order.
So Kid Eternity is actually originates in like the Quality Comics era. So Quality Comics is like Freedom Fighters, Plastic Man, stuff like that.
Yep.
And Kid Eternity is basically he's a boy who is on a boat and it's sunk by a U-boat and he dies. And he gets to heaven.
Fun.
And they, in the afterlife, and they go, oh fuck, we forgot to carry a 0. You died 75 years too early. So we'll send you back. And basically, he gets the ability when he says eternity, he can summon like any historical figure to like help him out.
That's kind of amazing.
Yeah, and he can also, for a bit, he could also go intangible and invisible and stuff too, and he gets to live like the rest of his life and things like that. So that's Kid Eternity, and there's a retcon partway through, after DC, bought Quality Comics and folded things, and there's a bit of a retcon where, I think it's revealed that he actually gets his powers from the Lords of Chaos, and they've tricked him. They've made him think that backstory was his backstory, but really, like, he's not summoning like historical figures. He's only summoning like chaos agents who like disguise themselves. Like, they sort of do a whole thing where they're like using him and he doesn't know.
Yeah.
And he does, I think, eventually shake that, and he defects. So he's technically powered by the Lords of Chaos, and he does defect to the Lords of Order, like explicitly in the comics. That it's a thing, and then he actually gets his like old powers back of summoning historical figures for like a predetermined amount of time, sort of thing. Like essential Kid Eternity stories. That's kind of tough. Kid Eternity doesn't show up a ton because he's kind of like, I don't know, he's kind of like it's a weird story.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like a Vertigo thing. Like, it should be more of like that
like, sounds about
like Shade the Changing. Like, it kind of feels like it would fit better there than anywhere else. But actually, that's not where he tends to show up. I think he's shown up more in like he maybe even showed up in like JSA Adventures or something like that. But there's a Grant Morrison run. Speaking of Vertigo, at some point, Grant Morrison does write Kid Eternity. And I think which one is that? Which book is it? He shows up in Teen Titans.
Weird.
And that's a Morrison one. And Kid Eternity's in there. I think for a while in like maybe the 70s, I think he was a backup feature in like the Power of Shazam stories. Like, they sort of tied him to Shazam for a little bit. So I guess if you're looking for Kid Eternity stories, I'd either look for Morrison, because if anyone's going to do anything with that sort of weird kind of concept, it's Morrison.
Yeah.
But it's also, I would maybe, if you have some of those old like Shazam things, I think he was a backup feature for like quite some time. And I think while he was a backup feature, they were doing some stuff where they were like tying their like backgrounds together. Like, I think he was maybe supposed to be like Freddie Freeman's brother or something. Like, they changed his name and stuff. So for a bit, he was like actually related to like the Marvel family.
Yeah.
So those are probably the two big ones. I think in the New 52, they did like a one-shot National Comics issue. That was a Kid Eternity story. Again, he doesn't show up a bunch, but yeah, Morrison or those Shazam ones, I'd say those would probably be the most fun to read.
Nice. Yeah. Next resident is the most interesting resident. Who could it be? One of two.
Roland Seba?
No, incorrect. It's Andrew Delgado.
God damn it.
The most interesting residents.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks for them to have to share the title.
Fight to the death.
Two must enter, one must leave.
Two must enter, one must leave. Andrew Delgado asks,
breakup pool cue. There's a lot of room for aggressive expansion.
Yeah. I like that. That's good. Andrew Delgado asks, given its sketchy reputation early on, who's the most heroic champion of chaos? On the other side of things, is Dr. Fate's morality commonly portrayed how it is in the Young Justice cartoon?
Sure. Well, I mean, so like I mentioned, Naboo is maybe like one of the.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Now you're gonna.
Naboo,
it's one of the earliest Lords of Order introduced, and so the thing is,
Naboo, Andrew Delgado.
His
They're very close.
Resides within the Helmet of Fate. So whenever someone puts on the Helmet of Fate, Naboo kind of he either takes over or he's like a guiding voice. It's changed in comics. He used to just be like a voice in there, like, hey, why don't you try this? And then it became like that he would take over, and then the host would be like, hey, wait a minute, give me the steering wheel. That kind of shit. And in the Young Justice cartoon, they really play that up. Like, Naboo basically like takes someone hostage, right? Like, Giovanni Zatara sacrifices himself to be the host for Naboo and become Dr. Fate. And like Naboo won't take the helmet off because he's like, I won't be left on a shelf somewhere. I'm not letting him go. Like, it's kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
So part of that is, and part of what this question is getting at is, for a while in the comics, the Lords of Order and Chaos were explicitly, basically, they were called Order and Chaos, but they were split down the line of good and evil. You know, Lords of Order, good. Lords of Chaos, evil. Mm-hmm. And over time, that changed. And now it's more literally like, which of those sentiments do they embody? Is it the imposition of order, or is it like the sort of wildness, unpredictability of chaos? So because of that, Dr. Fate is interesting because he is mostly a hero. But every once in a while, there's like something will kind of trigger Naboo, and he'll basically say like, no. This horrible thing that's happening is technically in service of order. Therefore, we should go along with it. So good examples. If you've played Injustice 2, they use this. Basically, when Brainiac shows up and he's going to start, taking over and bottling and, doing what Brainiac does, Dr. Fate is like for it. He's like, because he's like, no, like this.
He's about it.
This is order. Like he's
there for it.
But Kent Nelson, the host, is fighting against Naboo. Like that's the struggle that character goes through in Injustice 2.
Yeah.
Currently in the run of Justice League Dark that's like ongoing right now, Dr. Fate is the antagonist they're going up against.
Oh shit.
He and the Lords of Order have basically decided that like the way to defeat like the Upside Down Man and all of these sort of horrific kind of dark multiverse magic eaters is to destroy magic, start over and make it, the way they see it. Like order and all that kind of stuff. And again, it's almost like that thing similar with the Spectre, right? When Naboo gets a little like too distant from his human hosts, because he's immortal, he's lived thousands of years, it's very easy to sort of lose perspective of like the humanity sort of side of it. And when that tends to happen, then that order thing doesn't always fall on the side of good, right? That's a thing where he's like, maybe we have to do this horrible thing for a greater, order.
Yeah.
And then conversely, Hawk, Hank Hall, he gets his powers from the Lords of Chaos, but he's like objectively a hero. I mean, he has, as many have, gone crazy, become a supervillain. He at one point ended up with the powers of both Hawk and Dove, like both sides, and he became a villain called, he discovered that he had taken over in the future. He became this villain called Monarch. This is in a story called Armageddon 2001. And then Monarch, I think, kills Wave Rider or something and takes his chronal energy and becomes a villain called Extant.
Extant gonna give it to you.
Yeah. Well, and Extant done give it to you in 0 Hour. But then you find out he's working for Parallax. Like there's some crazy shit with Hank Hall for a bit. But when he is Hank Hall, when he's a hero, his powers come from the Lords of Chaos, and like he's hot-headed, and he, it's all those chaotic things. He doesn't think it through. He doesn't, it's short-term wins, not like the long-term strategy or things like that. But he's still trying to do good.
Yeah.
So there are examples of both where like they're not just down the line of good and evil anymore. It's more like about the approach or the morality, like it's beyond the morality, I guess is what I mean. Yeah.
Nice. Let's leave Facebook and head on over to Twitter.
Twitter.
Ooh, that was tight.
Thanks because I have ice in my mouth.
Yeah, ice.
Is ice going to give it to you?
All right. First question comes from James Paulson. I got nothing for you.
No drop.
Get a more interesting name. I don't know what to say.
It's so mean.
Well, they don't come for here for me to be nice.
Your name is fine.
For a shitty name.
Jesus.
James Paulson asks, 2 first names sounds like James Paul. Choose a first name. Jeez. No, I'm just going to roast all the rest of it.
Phyllis Diller is here.
James Paulson asks, which champions...
I wouldn't fuck that drop with your dick. What's another like classic roast joke we can use?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not 75 years old. Wait till you do stand up. I was talking to somebody about that today.
Yeah, is that coming up?
Yeah, it's going to be this month. I just don't know when. But I was talking to.
I'm so nervous.
I was talking to somebody about that today.
Have we talked about this on the main podcast? I know we've talked about it on the Patreon, but yes, I'm about to start
doing stand up.
I'm about to start doing stand up. It's extremely nerve wracking. It makes me very nervous.
Yeah, I can't wait for you to go up on stage and be like, the thing about comics, and there's crickets.
Yeah. What am I, Jimmy Olsen?
This is quite a Dr. Fate moment, isn't it?
Just tumbleweed.
Single clap from your way.
No, that's where she distances herself.
No, she just doesn't want you to kill yourself, so. Apparently, Endgame almost did it, so.
It's close.
Yeah.
What does James Paulson ask?
James Paulson asks, which champions best represented their particular order? Who was the most surprising champion for each order?
Ooh, okay. Right. Best represented. Someone like Mordru is a pretty good Lord of Chaos.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons. He's a sort of amoral, like, evil wizard that fights people across time. Like, who knows when he's even going to show up next? Like, he's sort of everywhere.
Yeah.
And constantly he's very, very powerful. That's a good agent of chaos.
That's actually, I prefer if you called him He Who Must Not Be Named.
I think like the wizard Shazam is a pretty good Lord of Order.
Billy Batson.
Thank you.
So
no, I guess he's talking about champions, not the actual lords themselves. Then,
yes.
Right?
Champions.
Right. So...
So is Shazam count as a...
Well, you can make the argument that like Captain Marvel, like Shazam is a champion of the Lords of Order. Although, like the post-Flashpoint status of whether or not that is still true is kind of...
Oh, throwing shade.
Well, we just don't know. Like, it hasn't been explicitly said, but it also hasn't been explicitly not said. I would say, for much the same reasons that I just answered, Dr. Fate ends up being like, he's a pretty good champion of order. Whether or not that always makes him a good hero is questionable. But he's...
Talking about Naboo?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, but it's it's the package, right? It's Naboo and a host equals Dr. Fate.
Okay.
So, Clarion the Witch Boy is kind of like an interesting like chaos agent. He's not good nor evil. Sort of neutral. He's been portrayed as like an antagonist and adversary to like the demon Etrigan and stuff like that in the past. And then in Morrison's Seven Soldiers, he's basically like effectively a good guy. And he goes both ways. And I think it just depends on when it suits, which is maybe
sexy.
Like, which is a very chaotic thing to.
It's a very doctor kind of thing.
Well, that's true.
You get that Momoa. Drink it up.
Permission to come aboard.
Get wet.
That's fuck. I'm there.
Soaked.
Amethyst, I actually don't think is that good of a Lord of Order, because Amethyst's whole thing is that because she grew up like in our world, and as Amy Winston, she comes into Gemworld with different experiences than the people of Gemworld. In the same way that, speaking of Aquaman, Arthur is a different type of ruler for Atlantis because he is not he's not from Atlantis.
Yeah.
He's not like an Atlantean citizen, he's Atlantean by blood, but that's it. And it's the same sort of thing with Amaya/Amy, is that, I think maybe if she was born there, raised there, was just in Gemworld, she'd probably be a very good Lord of Order.
Mm-hmm.
She's an excellent hero, but I think because she won't just like, that there are like the rules in place that like she's not like that. She's a bit more impulsive or, willing to try new things or, find middle ground or kind of shake things up a little bit. I think because of that, she's maybe not necessarily a good Lord of Order or a good Agent of Order.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent hero though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Next question comes from our favorite spacey, sexy texter.
Let's have it.
Cosmic DM.
Ooh.
Slide in.
Oh, I don't like that.
Slide in.
That's too creepy.
I got stars in my eyes, baby. Slide in.
Oh no.
Cosmic DM.
All you gotta do is trust me.
Number 1 Canuck boy.
I love that so much.
It's really good.
What a fun time.
What a great episode. Listen to the High and Mighty.
Listen to our episode with Gabrus and Tom Goss. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
And listen to, Gabrus's High and Mighty episode about the Yukon and Canada.
Do you think that the Dr. DC podcast is subpar at best? Well, don't worry. There's one episode that's worth listening to.
Well, let's not put that in the ad.
What?
That's bad ad copy.
Wow, but if they don't like it, then they'll listen to that.
Yeah, they'll make up their own. Don't prime them to not like it.
I know you're not going to enjoy this, but there might be one episode that you would.
I mean, that's pretty much how you pitched Supernatural to me.
And
you literally said it takes 4.5 seasons to get good. It's like, I'm all right.
But it gets so good. That's how I'm trying to get Jess to watch Walking Dead. I was like,
oh
look.
My God. I mean, no, Walking Dead, you kind of have to hop around more. Season 1 is good. You skip like most
Yeah,
of
but here's the
2.
problem. Season 1 is like its own TV show.
Yeah, that's true.
And then you go, okay, season 2, they were at a farm and then we're moving on. Now we're at a prison. And some people died. It's fine.
Season 3 is solid.
Season 3 is solid, and you kind of go, yeah, don't worry about season 1. None of that mattered.
Yeah.
And then season 4 is real shitty.
Yep.
And then
season 5 is like,
it's almost enough to make you continue,
yeah.
But we were not strong enough to do so.
No, we were not. I sell the mem.
Yeah, so that's the issue right now. See, so not every show is, sometimes you just gotta, like season 1 of Mad Men. Ooh, that's a slog.
I know, but we're still talking about things where you only have to skip like 1 season, not 4.5 off the top.
Yeah, but when there's like when there's like 15, it's like a drop in the bucket. I mean, there's just so much left. And it's got everything that you won't like from comics is in this.
Everything I won't like from comics?
No, everything that you like from comics is in this. Everything. All of these concepts, everything we've already talked about already, in there. Have you at least played Mass Effect all the way through yet?
Oh, God, all the way? No, I have not.
Have you at least gotten through the first game?
No.
Give you everything I have.
I'm busy.
What are you, got a kid or something? Jesus.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I didn't know.
I'm sorry. Should have said something.
Jesus, now I'm the asshole.
Cosmic DM asks, so wow, that's where we start. We still haven't even got through the question. Cosmic DM asks, so sometimes Dr. Fate is referred to as Naboo. We just talked about this. And a few times Vandal Savage has talked about a son from a long time ago named Naboo. Are these the same people? If so, how did Naboo become Dr. Fate?
Right. So Vandal Savage, we know who Naboo is, roughly. Vandal Savage was
time traveler.
No. Only in that he lives so long that he just slowly moves through time.
That's right. Yeah.
He's a caveman who's exposed to this meteorite with this radiation that increases his intellect and makes him immortal.
Yes.
Like actually immortal, like cannot be killed.
Oh.
Lives forever.
Like Highlander.
If you stab him
and he
bleeds out, he'll come back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not like Highlander.
Except for at the start of this very recent run of Justice League where Lex Luthor kills Vandal Savage permanently.
How?
Quote unquote permanently.
Yeah. I didn't see him die.
So, right. So that's Vandal Savage. So because of that, he's lived through like tons of different eras. And one of them is like sort of an ancient Egypt one where he's a pharaoh called like Khafre or something like that. And it's roughly in that era where Nabu actually lives, where he was like a person on his own.
Okay.
Not just like a disembodied spirit in a helmet. And it's during that time where like there's lots of different retcons. So this doesn't always line up, but at various points, you know, Nabu and like Teth Adam, who would become Black Adam, you know, they craft things like the Claw of Horus, which is like a Hawkman weapon. The stuff with the Blue Beetle Scarab is sort of like tied up in that era and things too. That Scarab would eventually be found by Dan Garrett, not used by Dan Garrett is the first Blue Beetle. It wouldn't be used by Ted Kord, the second Blue Beetle, but it would then be used by Jaime Reyes, the third one. So that is from that sort of ancient era or whatever. Vandal Savage is so long lived that, you know, you could make the argument that even if they didn't explicitly say, you know, Nabu is his son, he might not actually be like a son, but could be, you know, in some way related. Vandal Savage probably has that thing that Genghis Khan has going on, right? Which is that there's like a bunch of sort of
kids,
you know, people with like a 712th Vandal Savage blood or whatever, things like that. I think though
he be fucking.
I think if you're using the name Nabu like that, I think they're probably explicit, like trying to be.
Why use it if it's not?
I think that you don't use a name like that in DC unless you are like, yeah,
that
you know, like
that one.
It's not like there's like, you know, like, well, that's John Nabu and that's like Sven Nabu, and that,
it's not like it's not a name that like is super popular.
It's me, Tracy Nabu. Like it's not. It's not like that.
No.
So I do think, you know, you're implying something there. But as for the how did he become a Lord of Order, you know, the Lords of Order aren't necessarily, you know, these like from the dawn of time incorporeal beings. You know, there are versions of that story where they are that. And there are other versions of the story where it's just that they are like mortal magicians of such immense power that they basically find a way to transcend death and they become these sort of, you know, powerful guardians of magic itself. So, you know, like Nabu being a human on Earth, and that doesn't preclude him becoming a Lord of Order. It's not like one or the other kind of thing. And again, there's so many retcons with some of this stuff and some of this magic stuff that, like, even if it was true for a bit, I don't know that it's true now. And I think if you asked me what the current sort of setup was, I would say that Nabu is not related to Vandal Savage.
But at one point that was the case.
I think that was probably the implication there. But yeah, if you were to ask me now, I would be surprised if anyone still considered that to be a thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair. Oh, next question comes from... that is a name I haven't heard in a very long time.
Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Chad Bokelman. Close.
Oh, okay.
A bogle, bogle, bogle.
Oh, sorry. I missed it.
It's okay.
Bogle, bogle, bogle.
It's too fucking late.
Bogle, bogle, bogle.
Get the fuck out. Get out. I don't know why he first shot a cap gun and then started up a lawnmower, but apparently something he's doing in my house.
I'm back. The lawnmower ran out of gas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What did I miss?
Nothing.
Okay.
It's fine. Chad asks, I'm done. You know what? I can't do this anymore.
Wow. There's a lot of gravel on this property. You got foot off the clutch, Richard. Foot off the clutch. Just come back in. Oh my god, he just shot himself in the driveway. We'll be back after a quick word from our sponsor.
Faster than a speeding bullet.
This episode of the Dr. ZC podcast is brought to you thanks to our sponsor, Great Lakes Grooming Co. You know how much we love this product. We talk about it every episode, but it's a product that I use every single day. Their beard oil, the Your Love scent, is a staple in my sort of daily routine. It nourishes my beard, makes it really nice and soft, and smells really nice. And when I have a little bit left over in my hand, I put it in my hair, and it makes my hair really nice. And it's actually one of the only things that will tame my hair, because it's pretty crazy. The beard balm is a really nice way to kind of finish it off, and it sort of pulls the whole beard together. So if you guys if you have a beard, it's honestly, these two products are like no other product that I've ever used, and they work super, super well. The Noble Selves hairstyling cream is unparalleled to all of the other gels and waxes and pomades and things like that. It's got this sort of medium light hold for somebody like me who has really thick hair. I'm always hesitant when somebody says it's a medium hold or a light hold, because I'm always like, well, you're gonna need basically cement to put my hair down. But this actually works really, really well without having so much product in my hair. It's really, really nice, and it's super soft without feeling like you have this gunk inside your hair. It's awesome. Great Lakes Grooming is meant to be easy and ready to use, rain or shine. And we've definitely tested it up here in the harsh climate of the Great White North. We can definitely go through a gambit of different weather throughout the year, and I've never had an issue with this product when it comes to that. But we're lucky because these products are also purposely designed and environmentally responsible, handmade in Canada. I know the people who make these products. It's the same people that we work with for these sponsorships, and they're really, really great people to give your money to be honest. And I know that they're very intently making sure that these products are safe and environmentally responsible. So trust me, you'll feel good about using it, and you'll feel good when you wear it because you'll look real great. But for you lucky listeners, we have a 10% off Great Lakes Grooming regular price products. All you got to do is go to the greatlakesgrooming.com and use their promo code DRDC podcast. That's all one word, DRDC podcast, greatlakesgrooming.com. And just use that promo code, and you guys will get 10% off of something that's awesome, and you will definitely come back over and over again. It's not in our promo list that I was given, but they have these really great brushes that they sell too. They're unreal. There's a lot of process that goes into having a big beard. The bigger it gets, the more work it takes. And being able to have one company that you can go to and you can trust them, and everything works the way that it should. It's awesome. I can't say enough how much I love this whole product line, to be honest. So yeah, remember that website again, www.greatlakesgrooming.com. And now back to the show. It's okay, I'm back. We're back.
And we're back.
Hey! Chad Bokeman asks, if all magic is either chaos or order, then which is the Star Heart? Alan wields it for good, yet the Star Heart has been shown to be malevolent. Malevolent. Yes. Yeah. Can chaos be used for good and order for evil?
Well, yeah, so this is kind of an extension of a previous question. I mean, the short answer to that second half thing is yes. Order and chaos no longer mean good and evil.
Yeah.
It's more of the approach. When you think of the
Dungeons and Dragons,
those fucking grid things, right? There's lawful good, lawful evil, chaotic good, chaotic. It's that is true.
Yes.
So, I mean, in terms of what the Star Heart is, I mean, I'm tempted to say order, because the Star Heart is, it's magical energy of it's life force and things like that. And I think typically speaking, and there are obviously exceptions, but typically speaking, when you're talking about chaos and things like that, you're also wrapping in the idea of entropy, or, the end, or, you spiral towards heat death, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Because that's sort of a chaotic.
It's like anarchy,
thing.
Right?
A little bit. Yeah, exactly. So I think just by nature of being a magical force drawn from life, right? Alan Scott's weakness in the Golden Age was wood, because the power comes from basically plants, essentially, right? That's why Solomon Grundy was originally a nemesis for him, because his ring wouldn't fully work against him because Grundy had all these bits of like swamp wood and shit like in him. Like, so I think if you're thinking of the Starheart as maybe like a life-based magical agglomeration, then I think it makes sense for that to be more aligned with order than chaos. You know, again, there is examples of things where you'd be like, that's kind of a chaotic move, or like that's kind of there's definitely examples of that's kind of an evil move, or stuff like that. But if I had to sort of generalize, I'd say order, and because that doesn't mean it has to always be good. It just means it has to be in service of that sort of ideal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Next question comes from Creative Credit Podcast, who asks, I've often stumbled across issues of Arion in discount back issue bins. Tell me about Arion. Yeah, magician, Lord of Atlantis, but who is he? What's a good story arc to learn more?
Right. For those who don't know, Arion is like an ancient Lord of Atlantis, like from the way back. He's
from way back.
He's a very powerful, like, mage, wizard, magician, sorcerer, whatever you want to call him, but also sort of ruler of Atlantis. He made his debut as like a backup feature or something like that in The Warlord, which is a comic that takes place in the world of Skartaris. That's a place at the center of the earth. It's like another sort of like, it's like a sword and shield kind of fantasy world that also has dinosaurs and magic and things like that. A world that we like, not explicitly, but kind of got in the Aquaman movie.
Ooh, yes, that's right.
I think that hidden sea is very much like Skartaris, which makes sense because in the comics there is like a shared ancestry with Atlantis and Skartaris. You know, like the magics and some of the technology and stuff like that of those worlds. They do branch from one point. So Arion made his debut in The Warlord and was like a backup feature in there for quite some time before getting his own series, like a mini series. And he then through like the 90s, he showed up a lot. There was like, there's a few stories, including in his own series, that was like about like the old days of Atlantis and stuff like that. And then, if I'm not mistaken, he found his way into like the modern times and stuff too. Like Arion has like worked with other DC heroes and things like that.
I think we all can agree that the best way is the Arion way.
No. Arion. Like Orion. Not Orion, but like Orion.
Yes. We all hail the Arion way.
No. So much to edit out of this show now.
Oh yeah, I guess you're going to have to do that. Oh wait.
Yeah, you just spoke unbroken for 40 minutes about the...
I just, when you feel strongly about stuff.
Yeah, sorry. So good stories to read with him. Obviously, one would be just his own miniseries is pretty cool. That's kind of the obvious answer. Like those ones in the old Warlord ones are kind of interesting, but don't necessarily give you too much background on them. The thing I should mention, the reason that we're talking about it on this show is that he does count as like an agent / Lord of Order. He's extremely powerful. I would say that oh god, I'm gonna forget like precisely when it happened. I think he actually did. He joined the Justice League sometime like early 90s, maybe just after 0 Hour. But sorry, like I said, he is a Lord of Order. He's got a brother actually who's sort of aligned with Chaos. I can't remember his name. It's like Gren Dugard or something like that.
Yeah.
But they're literally like one is Order, one is Chaos, and his parents are these sort of powerful sort of mage beings as well, right? But it's that sort of thing. They're like very literally strictly tied to those elements of magic. But there is, I think it's maybe just after 0 Hour or sometime in that like early 90s kind of era where he does like, he actually joins the Justice League. That's pretty cool stuff.
Oh wow.
I would check that out. Yeah, between his miniseries and that sort of era, that's pretty cool. But if you want to go all the way back to like the sort of Sword and Shield stuff, then try and find, if you have old issues of like Warlord, his backup is in there, and you should check it out.
Nice.
Yeah.
We got some crappy rims on your car. Don't worry. We're going to take them. We're going to make them into ice blocks. You get a chip in that windshield? Don't worry. We're going to upgrade that. Going to turn it into an ice block.
The Iceman Customs.
That's the Iceman Customs cometh. Iceman Customs asks, please talk about Kestrel and how he fits into the DC mythology.
Right. So this is a fun, weird thing in the Hawk and Dove mythos is that there's always all of these other like bird characters that also draw their power from
bird person.
From order or chaos. You get like over time you get like Osprey, Condor, Swan, and Kestrel is one of them. There's it's like a 5-issue series from I guess it's after Crisis on Infinite Earths because it's when you're introduced to Dawn Granger, like the version of Dove that we know now.
Yes,
like we've seen on Titans. It's when you're introduced to her. It's when she becomes Dove and joins Hank as Hawk. And basically through that 5-issue series, this guy Kestrel is basically like a purple version of Hawk. And you see him just like ripping people apart, just like very savage, very like grotesque, horrible kind of mass murdering killer. And he's trying to find Hawk. And he's like on the trail, basically. And essentially what you learn in that series is that he has made some sort of bargain with the Lords of Chaos. Like, if you give me that power, I can convince Hawk to just ditch the Lords of Order, like ditch that experiment.
Yeah.
And then like together, just as chaos entities, we can, with our kind of rage and all that stuff, we can do whatever we want.
Yeah.
So that whole thing is about like the balance. Cause like Hawk doesn't want anything to do with this new Dove because he thinks it besmirches the memory of his brother, Dawn, who died as Dove. And all that sort of stuff. So the whole like arc of that series is about him regaining that balance with Dawn Granger of order and chaos. It's about them learning the source of their powers. Like that idea of like Teratea and T'Char giving them powers is not something they're super aware of.
Yeah.
But at the end of that, when Hawk, they're fighting in the chaos realm and Hawk is getting angry and you see him sort of morphing into this monster and then he snaps out of it. And he's like, no, like that, I'm going to do the right thing, the good thing. And when that happens, then the Chaos Lords basically like disintegrate Kestrel. They like strip him of the power, like wipe him away because he failed. He failed to turn Hawk, essentially. But that's really what that series is about. So that's who Kestrel is basically like just a pure agent of chaos who's trying to wipe order out of that equation.
I got too excited about doing the Iceman Customs things. I forgot to say that we were in Instagram.
Now we're going to Instagram, take some questions and answer them.
Except for that, we're now leaving Instagram.
Now we're leaving Instagram. We
took some questions and answered them. And we're going to Reddit.
Where everyone's nice and no one's ever mean.
And last question for today.
All right.
A little shorty episode today.
Yeah, it's a little quickie.
A little quick. Well,
they don't always have to be these like tantric fucking things.
4-hour episodes that we do. Sometimes you get an hour. And if you want more, subscribe to our Patreon. The last question comes from Never Say Die, Iron Joker 33, who asks, what is the best retcon that has been done involving the Lords of Order and Chaos?
The best retcon?
Yes. Best retcon that involves the Lords of Order and Chaos.
I guess the best retcon is the one that I come back to the most. I talk about this series a lot because I really like its approach to like just how magic works.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Day of Vengeance, which is all tied into Infinite Crisis. Actually, a lot of these characters show up as part of this, including like Arian and some of these other ones.
Nice.
Because this is the one where the Spectre goes rogue and he's trying to destroy magic. And as part of that, he's like going, you see like Teratea and T'Char, the Lords of Order and Chaos that give Hawk and Dove their powers. And when the Spectre kills them, Hawk and Dove lose their powers. You see that happen during that. He goes and he kills the wizard Shazam, takes his power. And it destroys the Rock of Eternity. So you see that. Ultimately, Naboo, without a host, it's just like the helmet and the cape, like just floating, basically, realizes that they can't stop the Spectre. So what he needs to do is push him to actually almost finish his mission and do and mess up magic so badly that basically God takes notice.
No.
So basically, Naboo goes to fight the Spectre and lets the Spectre kind of kill him. And then God notices, like, kind of in that, like, oh, fuck, you don't have a host. And then just, like, grabs him and sticks him in someone. Like, but, I mean, the ultimate lesson of Day of Vengeance is that, like, God doesn't give a shit about us.
Yeah.
We're an afterthought. But basically, Naboo's plan is, like, once all of the Lords of Order and Chaos are destroyed and magic is completely wild, that is such, like, an upheaval of, like, the natural order and the way that magic works that God can't ignore it. And that's his plan, basically.
Wow.
I forget how the Phantom Stranger puts it, but it's something that's like, you know, like make the dog bark loud enough that the owner like hears it. Kind of
wow.
Thing. And essentially that's his plan. But that's a retcon that I like, that idea that like both Order and Chaos sort of serve like a role in terms of like the fabric of magic. That there are, you know,
fabric of
magic is one of those things where it does whatever the story needs it to do.
Yeah.
But you always get the sense, they always imply that there's this sort of like understood, there's rules. Because that's why you always get those things where it's like once a year, all the sorcerers get together, good and evil. It's like, why don't you fight? And it's like, no, like it's magic. It's different. Like we're not the Capes. This is like how it works.
Yeah.
You get the sense that there is these sort of unwritten rules in that. And what Day of Vengeance did was basically say like the rules only exist because of these guys. And when you kill them, then like, well, fuck. And you know, like I said, the Rock of Eternity explodes and it basically like rains like like fire and literal rock, but also like the 7 deadly sins and all sorts of shit down on Gotham City. And all of these sorcerers have to come together and rebuild it. You know, Zatanna is there. Like I said, Arian is there. All of these different magic users, Phantom Stranger, everyone is sort of like trying to put the Rock of Eternity back together. And then Captain Marvel has to take the Wizard Shazam's place in order to hold it together. So he sort of sacrifices himself that way. But that's, I think, maybe the big sort of retcon-y thing that I like about the Lords of Order and Chaos is sticking them in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for the questions today. Which, you know what that means.
God damn it.
I love watching the like naive like smile in your face where you're just like, yeah, we did it. I guess this is the end. Every time. We're someone who retains so much information.
We've been doing this for so long, I always forget.
But also, you're just someone who retains information so well that it boggles my mind at every time.
Well, there's just there's a limit on that, though, right? I can't retain it anymore.
Yeah, you're like Maggie.
Yeah, what's my daughter's name?
Is it Naboo?
I think it's Naboo.
Yeah, it must be.
Kent Nelson.
Yeah. You know what time it is. Time for Dial Doc.
Sure.
What's Dial Doc?
Dial Doc is inspired by Dial H for Hero, which was a series where you dial HERO into this magical H dialer and
or EVIL.
Or EVIL. Yeah, that's right. And you're turned into a random hero or villain. They used to take like reader submissions for sort of silly characters and things like that with wacky powers. And now we, at the end of every episode, try to come up with one.
This is the thing that you created and now are like chained to.
Yeah, until the end of time.
Do you have one?
Ooh, do you?
Yeah.
Okay, you go first.
Okay.
I also have one, but you go first.
I want to test you. Look outside. That's my favorite. My character's name... Doctor, are you paying attention?
Yes.
My character's name is Leech.
Okay.
Who has the power to extend its body under the ground like roots.
Right.
And one can connect to plant life and trees and but also like any living being.
Right.
And I have basically control over those things.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But also can just like grab people from from the ground and pull them under and kill them.
Oh, okay. So also it's like a physical.
Yeah. But also can like connect to things and yeah.
Gotcha. Nice.
But then it leaves their the host body vulnerable.
Right. Understood. Mine is called Yield. And
like what? Like what someone might do, I don't know, near a roundabout or a cul-de-sac.
Yeah, if only there were one of those near or visible from the window.
It's actually a stop sign, but
it's not. You think I don't know what a yield sign? Thank God, no. I mean, I didn't take it from that.
Gotcha.
This is entrapment. So what yield can do is basically like within like a sort of radius of them, they actually like slow down time for everyone else. So like, if we were like this far apart, like it would be fine. But if you came in to punch me, then as soon as you got like within like a certain boundary, you would slow down. So I could like move out of the way, stuff like that. So that's what yield does. Basically, is like everything around them in like a very kind of close proximity slows down like as much as they want.
I was gonna say,
they can move.
If they didn't have control over it, that'd be terrible. Imagine the foreplay.
Oh my God! Speaking of tantric,
just come on, get to it.
But yeah, that's yield.
Nice. Nice.
I mean, I'm very much running out of things within eyeshot.
I call it Red House.
My character's name is
Trailer.
Siding.
Window pane.
Pavement.
Window pane. It has.
Why are we using all of these? I could be using these.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, forget it. Forget it all. You didn't hear anything at all. I'll edit it out.
Fix it in post.
We would love to hear, try to compete, but
I was kind of proud of that one.
No, I know, but I mean, it's clearly top notch for us. Just we're constantly batting.
That was better than some of the ones I've come up with. That was better than Popesicle.
That's better than Power Guy.
Power Guy, yeah. It's better than what was it like hard case? What was the one I came up with the one time? Here's a question for everyone at home. If we like got someone to actually like draw them, would anybody like buy like a weird book of like these characters we've come up with? If we like drew them and gave them proper backstories and stuff, would anybody buy like a weird coffee table book of stupid heroes?
Alternate request. If we just stopped doing this, would anyone be upset?
No, we're in it now.
Oh, okay.
Unless we have a segment to replace it.
Hashtag please stop.
Hashtag free us.
Yeah.
Hashtag sweet release.
No, that's a different one. That's how we end the podcast.
That's right. Episode 117. Sweet release.
Oh, if only. We would love to hear your heroes or villains or somewhere in between. Your orders. Where do they lie on the orders of chaos and order? We would love to know. All you have to do is use the hashtag DialDoc, and you can send your character to us through the various social media platforms, or just you could send us a question for next week's episode, which is...
So next week is our contribution to...
Now, you remember when 4 months ago he asked...
yeah, really. No, next week is our contribution to that
that's right.
JL May podcast crossover. So
yes.
All of the podcasts involved, which include like the Idlehead of Diabolou, the Fire and Water podcast, Lantern Cast, there's a Black Canary podcast as part of it. Us, obviously, the Coffee and Comics podcast, a bunch of other ones. We're all kind of celebrating the 10-year anniversary of Blackest Night. And so for our contribution next week, we're going to be looking at the Booster Gold tie-in issues. It's Booster Gold Volume 2, number 26 and 27. We're going to be talking about those. And then if you've got questions about the blue and the gold, send them in. And that's for JL May.
Like, you're talking about like University of Michigan? Go blue.
Yeah. Go blue. Let's go blue.
Oh, so good.
I had a gym teacher in middle school.
Yes, you told me
obsessed.
This, yes.
So I got weirdly into the Michigan Wolverines.
Because you're a fucking kiss ass.
Yeah.
Cool. Glad that worked out.
Was it? Do you mean that? Was it cool?
No, you fucking idiot.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Did you see the request that we got?
yeah, we got a request on our on our subreddit to do a Patreon episode where we take like clips from the new Pennyworth show and then just dub over them with our version of a Pennyworth origin thing.
I mean, I'm not against that.
I actually love that idea.
Yeah.
I'm very tempted.
I've been thinking about it. Anyways, you can send us a question for that Booster Gold episode. Well, it's a Booster Gold specific Darkest Night episode. Blackest Night, whatever.
Booster and Beetle.
Yes. Or you could just nerd out with us online. Send us hilarious requests like to do the Alfred dubs.
Yep.
All through our various social media platforms, such as our Facebook,
Dr. DC Podcast.
our Twitter,
At Dr. DC.
Instagram,
Dr. DC Podcast.
email,
DrDCPodcast@gmail.com.
or of course, like that fellow we had spoken about before, go on our subreddit.
r/Dr_DC.
Also, not only can you talk to us online, but you can also read our DC-specific articles or view our many wares. Kajita's many wares. Buy our merch on our website.
DrDCPodcast.com.ca.
And of course, you know the doc phone's open, right?
That's right.
208-917.
DCEU.
That's 208-917-3238. I'm not even looking at that. I forgot to write that down. It's not even on there. I just know it in my bones.
Nice.
Yeah, you'll know me in your bones.
You think that's how he got his name?
Bones?
Leonard McCoy?
Oh, maybe. That's
Wife took the whole damn planet in the divorce. All I got left is my bones.
don't worry, there's enough to go around.
Jesus. I got kicked out of the academy. They call me Bones.
Because I fucked people to death.
Wow. Jesus. What? So many steps further.
With my bones.
Jesus Christ. That is pitch black.
If you like that, make sure to review us 5 stars.
They don't.
They do. 5 stars. Review us 5 stars on iTunes. Give us 5 stars. Buy our merch. Speaking of spending money, Patreon.
Yeah, patreon.com/DrDC. It's only $5 a month. And you get a full bonus.
Cinco dinero.
Thank you. Yes.
Nabu.
Yeah. Credits will do fine.
No,
they won't.
No, they won't.
Yeah, it's just $5 a month. You get a full bonus episode every month. Sometimes it's about DC. Sometimes
Rarely it is.
Sometimes it's not. We talk about movies. We talk about TV. We're doing one about music tonight.
That's
We're
right.
recording
Ooh,
one.
what are we talking about? Only you can know if you subscribe. So if you want some, subscribe on patreon.com/Dr_DC. No, they won't.
Adios.
Ciao, ciao.
They always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure. They are men of light.
Kajita's many wares.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.